Hello, my soul family. How are you all? And I hope you are doing great, wonderful, amazing, and safe wherever you are in the world. I welcome you all in my channel. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel, for giving me lots of love. And I am very glad that I help you out in some manner. If you have not subscribed yet to the channel, then please like, share and subscribe to the channel. And you can also let me know in the comment section if you want to tell me anything or if you want to ask me anything. So let's start today's video. So this is Station of Identity part number 6. So for those who have not watched part number 1 to part number 5, just go and watch part number 1 to part number 5 first, because we have discussed lot of things in those videos. And I am going to add a link in a description box, so you can check the description box also for watching those videos. So in part number 5, we have discussed about the layer number 3, which is our conscious mind. We get to know that our layer number 3 is connected to dimension number 3, that is our conscious mind. The layer number 3 is connected to the conscious mind. The layer number 3, that is connected to the mental body. The layer number 3, it is connected to the DNA strand number 3. It is connected to DNA strand number 3, and it is connected to the solar plexus chakra, and it is also connected to the 7 houses of ego, 3D houses of ego, which we also called as negative ego. We also get to know that there are 7 houses of ego, which are addiction, lust. Then second one is gluttony and waste. The third one is greed and avarice. The fourth one is wrath, rage and vigilance. The fifth one is envy and jealousy. The sixth one is pride and positive and negative self-importance. And the seventh one is laziness and discouragement. So in that video we get to know these things. So now in this video we are going to discuss about the negative ego. We are starting from the negative ego. What does that mean? Okay, what is the negative ego means? Okay, the houses of ego is also called as, okay, the negative ego. Okay, so in very simple terms, negative ego means service to self. Negative ego means energy vampirism. Negative ego means me operating in the personal qualities and in personal identity. Negative ego means a person who cannot be trusted, as they will always manipulate the circumstances to service of self as their primary or only concern. Okay, so the concept of egotism describes a person who acts to gain value for self-serving motivation and subconscious desires, while taking in an excessive amount of resources than that which he or she gives back to other. And this is called as consumptive modeling or energetic vampirism. These are the actions of taking in others' energy, time, and resources, and is accompanied with very low ethical standards and displaying low moral character traits. Egotism may be fulfilled by exploiting the sympathy, trauma, emotion, or ignorance of others, as well as utilizing the coercive force, deception, manipulation, mind control, and fraud. Okay. So in very simple terms, ego is a part of us that is not going to be happy with where we are at or what we are doing it. The ego is the part of us that does not want to accept what is going on and want it to be more better. Okay. So the egotist person has very overwhelming, okay, very great in amount sense of centrality of the me operating in their personal qualities and also in their personal identity. Okay, so as I told you that right now in the 3D timeline, we can see very clearly there are two timelines which we can see in the 3D right now. Okay, one is the artificial timeline and one is the organic crystal timelines. And right now, the 3D timeline is a clone world run by the service to self, that is the negative ego, the psychopaths and narcissists. And it's like that because the people existing in it come from their shadows. Okay, they're coming from their shadows, they're coming from their wounds, and this is all the parts of them that are finite, where they need to manipulate and overpower others. Now we ourselves will drop in the 3D timeline, in the artificial timeline, every time when we come from our own shadow, the parts of us which is guilty, which is shameful, which is depressed, or which is anxious, jealous, victim to everything, which has wounds, which has traumas. Okay, so every time when we choose to come from that lower consciousness, will we actually, okay, get anchor into the artificial timeline, in the 3D timeline. So we have to remember that we are going up and down timelines constantly every moment. Okay, we are, that is why we have to do our inner work. That is why we are learning about the stations of identity. We are learning about how we have to complete our deep shadow work. We have to learn to heal our shadows, our wounds, our traumas, by healing the parts of us that exist in the lower finite consciousness. And how we can do that? Okay, so you have to do that because we, as we stop the ego, we are going to stop the satanic forces, the fallen races. So stop ego and stop satanic forces, stop ego and stop fallen races. Okay, we must identify, we must be able to identify the destructive patterns, which are the ego fear patterns, from the healthy patterns, which are the spiritual love, in order to make an informed choice from our conscious mind and have the personal discernments. Okay, so to master the negative ego, one will need to identify the inferior or the superior thought forms and the archetypes and belief systems as they are acted upon, in order to shift and refocus the negative thoughts back into the neutral point, back into the 0 point, back into the observer point, back into the hara line, that is your middle point. Okay, so now the question comes that what is the inferior thinking, okay, and what is this superior thinking? Okay, what is this inferior and superior thinking? We have discussed one mind control program which is called as victimizer program in our previous videos. For those who have not watched that video, please go and watch that. Okay, I'm going to add a link in the description box. So we are going to know what is the inferior thinking and what is the superior thinking. But for those souls who are operating on the superior thinking, are actually playing the role of victimizer. They are running the fear thoughts, they are actually having the ego fears, the destructive patterns, the fear thoughts in their subconscious mind, in their unconscious mind, in their conscious mind. And the souls who are playing the role of victim, okay, in the victimizer program, they are having the inferior thinking, the love thoughts, okay, the spiritual love, the healthy patterns. So now we are first starting with the superior thinking or the inferior thinking. What does that mean? Okay, in detail. So the predator mind always stays in its superiority complex of the polarity, while it projects inferiority on the targets of its submission and enslavement. To master the negative ego, one will need to identify these inferior and superior thought forms and their archetypes and belief systems as they are acted upon, in order to shift and refocus the negative thoughts back into the neutral, the observer point. This is the act of freeing your mind. This is the act of freeing your conscious mind for being under mind control. Do a inventory of personal thoughts and identify them as inferior or superior, or as love thoughts or the fear thoughts, or as the destructive patterns or the healthy patterns. Okay, make a choice, make a conscious choice right now, which thoughts you want to own and those you want to discard. You have to choose from your conscious mind. Bring yourself back to the center with the breath and apply the neutral association to circumstances whenever you fall out of the inner balance. Come to the observer point, come to the 0 point, come to the neutral association. Okay, so when you drop into either an inferior or superior thought form, immediately label it as negative ego and disidentify with thoughts as defining your value or true Christos nature. Do not let negative thoughts control you. Refocus and affirm and the correct thought forms. We must be able to identify the destructive patterns, that are the ego fear, from the healthy patterns, which is the spiritual love, in order to make an informed conscious choice and have the personal discernment. Okay, so now what are the superior thinking? So for those who are in superior thinking, okay, are in, they are actually having intolerance. Okay, the characteristics which they show is the intolerance, impatience, arrogance, manipulation. They will attack, they will have anger issues, they will judgmental thinking, they will have the judgmental thinking. Then the souls who are operating on the inferior thinking are having worry, low self love or low self esteems. Okay, jealousy, guilt, hurt, fear, attachment, or the martyrdom. Okay, so you have to identify these things. So first we are going to know that there are five big archonic deception strategies, okay, or the fallen race strategies, to generate more ego behaviors and their value systems in the human public. And these are designed to spiritually abuse and harness humanity. Okay, so what are the five big arcanic deception strategies? First one is divide and conquers. Second one is victimizer program. Third one is sexual abuse and sexual misery. The fourth one is child abuse and child sacrifice. The fifth one is misogyny. And these five big archonic deception strategies create spiritually abusive behavior or destructive patterns, or we called as ego fears. Okay, and now we are going to know what are the destructive patterns or the ego fears. The first one is disassociation and narcissism. The second one is mental rigidity. The third one is emotional fracturing. The fourth one is carelessness. The fifth one is deceitful. The sixth one is dependence. The seventh one is false reality delusions. The eighth one is divided competitions. So these eight are eight behaviors or destructive patterns or the ego fear patterns are the examples which, if you are having it, you can identify that these are the spiritually abusive behaviors or these are the destructive patterns. Okay, because it is the time to see these AD, that is arcanic deception, spiritually abusive behaviors, patterns and deceptions, so as this is the first step in the transformation, in the purging, in the inner work, in the spiritual journey. So we have to learn to recognize what we are exactly looking at and trust our inner feeling. We do not have to run away in fear. Okay, we don't have to run away from the fear. Okay, caution it, call it out for what it is non-judgmentally and change it internally to God sovereign free behaviors. Okay, so what are those God sovereign free behaviors? Okay, so every as I told you that there are eight spiritually abusive behaviors. Okay, they are, first one is disassociation and narcissism, which means split personalities that develops the defense mechanism and perseverance to cope up. The second one I told you, the mental rigidity, which produces the heart and intuitive sensory disconnection. I told you the third one is emotional fracturing, which is the soul fracturing, when we have little subconscious control over our emotion states, that leads to instant reaction of anxiety, drama, accusations, betrayals in our relationships. We are very unhappy if we do not get instant gratification and are generally chronically self entitled. The constant emotional roller coaster of internal anxiety lead us to self so others, where addictions are used to calm the nervous system or escape the painful reality. All addiction leads to satanic manipulation and possessions. Next one is carelessness. The fifth one is deceitful. The sixth one is dependence, and dependence is about to steal the energetic resources from another without them knowing, and to keep control over them through ignorance and oppression. The seventh one is false reality delusion. The eighth one is divided competition, which is divided and conquer strategies. So there is an antidote to these destructive patterns or the behaviors. Okay, we have to basically change these things. Okay, we have to trust our inner feeling, and we don't have to run away. Okay, we don't have to run away from it in fear that, oh my god, I have these destructive patterns now, I have to, okay, hide in fear. No, we don't have to hide in fear. Okay, because we know the full form of fear is false evidence appearing real. It is not your real identity. It's just the false evidence that is appearing the real. So we have to just caution it, and we have to change it internally into the god sovereign free behavior. Okay, by being a non-judgmental. Okay, you don't have to judge yourself, also be the non-judgmental. So, what are these God sovereign free behaviors? The first one is empathy and compassion. Okay. So, if you are having disassociation and narcissism, okay, change your destructive pattern into the healthy pattern, okay, into the healthy behavior of empathy and compassion. So, if you are having mental rigidity, okay, change it into the mental openness. If you are having emotional fracturing, change it into the emotional stability. If you are having carelessness, then change it into the responsibility. If you are having deceitful, then change it into the honesty. If you are having dependence, then change it into the sovereignty. If you are having false reality delusions, then change it into the reality assessment. If you are having divided competition, then change it into the unified cooperation. So these are the antidotes. Okay, these are the antidotes to the destructive pattern, to the ego patterns, to the behaviors. Okay, so we have to identify these things, and we have to start living in the law of one. Okay, we have to start living in the law of one. So where we can start is that, first of all, clear negative ego, that is service to self. Clear negative ego fear programs and devote practice to stop using emotional manipulation. Now, to stop ego, one must identify it, locate it, terminate it from accessing in our mind, emotions, body, and spirit. So we have to say it. We have to give a affirmation, and you have to say it very loudly. Okay, that term, I am terminating the consent given to the imposter spirit and the negative ego to control my mind, my body, or my soul. Okay, you have to give this affirmation. The second thing which you can do is mental discipline through devoted now moment awareness. Live in the now moment. Okay, you don't have to live in the past, or you don't have to worry about the future. You just have to live in the now moment, and start using meditation so that you can expand your consciousness awareness. Next thing which you can do is resolve emotional conflicts in the pain body. Be willing to heal your emotional and mental areas of cognitive dissociation, which is the discomfort when you felt when your belief systems are inconsistent with one another or with your actions. So cognitive dissociation is the uncomfortable tension that exists when holding two conflicting thoughts in the mind at the same time, or it is the tension that exists between the actions of the mind and action of the heart. Okay, the fourth point what you can do is say what you mean what you say. Okay, say what you mean what you say. The fifth point is what you can do is develop daily declaration of intention. Okay, develop daily practice of affirmation. Okay, so you have to set a intention, you have to give, you have to declare your intention, that is to resolve the authority problem of ego and god. Okay, and what you can give the declaration or affirmation, that my declaration of intention is to serve my god, my source. Okay, I commit to serve my highest power fully, completely, and totally. I am God, I am sovereign, I am free. Okay, so this is the declaration of intention which you have to give every day. The sixth thing which you can do is before bedtime, work with your core fear removal programs. Okay, so how you can do it? We are going to cover lot of things, so it is not going to okay cover in one part this core fear removal program in the next part. So there are 5 steps to reprogram your negative ego, which I called as negative ego reprogramming. Okay, so the first step is relabel, the second one is reattribute, the third one is refocus, the fourth one is revalue, and the fifth one is request help. Okay, so they are lot of things. Okay, I'm in the next part, I'm stopping this video here. In the next video, in the next part, we are going to know the core fear removal programs, how we can do it. Okay, before bedtime, how we can work with the core fear removal programs, and also the 5 steps to negative ego reprogramming. Okay, how we can reprogram the negative ego. What we are going to discuss these two things in details. So I'm stopping the video here. Okay, I hope it will help you out in some manner. There are a lot of things which we are going to discuss in part number 7, and many more parts which are coming in this series. Sending you lots of love, healing, and happy energies to all my soul family who are watching my video. Take care of yourself, and I will see you all soon.